on a miss. Schoolyard football, fishing, island hopping, beach days, fellowship at church, Sunday cricket sessions, putting a six love on your friends, kissing your granny, jumping off the iron shore. But until them days come again, let's find different ways to embrace who we are at home. Make your own kitchen scraping band. Listen to your grandfather's sea stories. Pass on traditional recipes. Play marbles and gigs. Tell Duppy stories. Pray for family and friends. Stay connected. Stay Caymankind. Share your ideas to inspire others. Use hashtag #StayingHomeIsCaymankind. For the latest accurate information, please visit www.gov.ky/coronavirus. gonna miss? Schoolyard football, fishing, island hopping, beach days, fellowship at church, Sunday cricket sessions, putting a six love on your friends, kissing your granny, jumping off the iron shore. But until them days come again, let's find different ways to embrace who we are at home. Make your own kitchen scraping band. Listen to your grandfather's sea stories. Pass on traditional recipes. Play marbles and gigs. Tell Duppy stories. Pray for family and friends. Stay connected. Stay K-Mankind. Share your ideas to inspire others. Use hashtag #StayingHomeIsKmankind. For the latest accurate information, please visit www.gov.ky/coronavirus. on a miss. Schoolyard football. Fishing. Island hopping. Beach days. Fellowship at church. Sunday cricket sessions. Putting a 6 love on your friends. Kissing your granny. Jumping off the iron shore. But until them days come again, let's find different ways to embrace who we are at home. Make your own kitchen scraping band. Listen to your grandfather's sea stories. Pass on traditional recipes. Play marbles and gigs. Tell Duppy stories. Pray for family and friends. Stay connected. Stay K-Mankind. Share your ideas to inspire others. Use hashtag #StayingHomeIsKmankind. For the latest accurate information, please visit www.gov.ky/coronavirus. be no on a miss. Schoolyard football, fishing, island hopping, beach days, fellowship at church, Sunday cricket sessions, putting a 6 love on your friends, kissing your granny, jumping off the iron shore. But until them days come again, let's find different ways to embrace who we are at home. Make your own kitchen scraping band. Listen to your grandfather's sea stories. Pass on traditional recipes. Play marbles and gigs. Tell duppy stories. Pray for family and friends. Stay connected. Stay K-Mankind. Share your ideas to inspire others. Use hashtag #StayingHomeIsKmankind. For the latest accurate information, please visit www.gov.ky/coronavirus. be no on a miss. Schoolyard football, fishing, island hopping, beach days, fellowship at church, Sunday cricket sessions, putting a six love on your friends, kissing your granny, jumping off the iron shore. But until them days come again, let's find different ways to embrace who we are at home. Make your own kitchen scraping band. Listen to your grandfather's sea stories. Pass on traditional recipes. Play marbles and gigs. Tell duppy stories. Pray for family and friends. Stay connected. Stay Caymankind. Share your ideas to inspire others. Use hashtag #StayingHomeIsCaymankind. For the latest accurate information, please visit www.gov.ky/coronavirus.
everyone, and welcome to today's press briefing on the coronavirus. I'm Donna Bush. Thank you for joining us via all of our channels, as well as on Radio Cayman. We go first to Pastor Naveen D'Souza.
God of infinite love and mercy, we call upon you in this time of illness and challenges. Grant wisdom to the leaders of our islands, especially His Excellency the Governor, the Honorable Premier and his ministers, and all other elected members of government and civil servants. By your Holy Spirit, guide their deliberations, their decisions, and their actions. Grant healing and comfort to the sick and strength to all frontline workers and caregivers. Aid our perseverance and lessen our distress, especially in those moments when we are scared and feel like we are sinking. May we put our trust completely in you and keep our eyes fixed on you. We ask this along with all the prayers deep within our hearts through your Son, Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen.
And thank you, Pastor D'Souza. We now welcome our panelists, His Excellency the Governor, the Honorable Premier, and the Honorable Minister of Health. With us in our studio today, we have the Medical Officer of Health, the Director of HMCI, and our sign language interpreter. Also joining us on Zoom are members of the media. We call first on Dr. Samuel Williams Rodriguez.
Hi, and good afternoon. I have some results to share with you, with the public today. We have received 297 results by press time, 225 from the process at the HSA, and 72 process at Doctor Hospital. Of those results, we have one positive. This was a screening test for an individual with no symptoms and no travel history, and no known contact with a patient known to have COVID-19. Public Health have started the investigation on this patient, and once we get more detail, we provided. We do have 296 negative results. So this trend of having a lot of negative results has continued. We're very happy with this trend, but as I said before in this forum, and by the Premier and the Governor orders, because of the extent screening that we do at present, we actually anticipating that we will have some positive results, but Public Health will follow closely in these results on these patients. Up to today, we have a total of 81 positive cases. Out of those 81, 8 are symptomatic, 29 asymptomatic. We don't have any patient currently admitted related to COVID-19. And 41 patients have recovered, and we still have the unfortunate death of the first patient that was diagnosed from the cruise ship. At the flu clinic at the HSA, we have 8 cases since yesterday. The flu hotline, 14 calls yesterday. And the government isolation facilities, we have 90 individuals that are present, and individuals in isolation by Public Health, and these are individuals who are positive for household, close contact, suspect under investigation. We have 104. I also want, before we move on to question, to inform the public that the regular screening that are done for school entry has been postponed due to the current situation. As you may anticipate, all the Public Health nurses are engaged with our response to the COVID-19 outbreak. But the school health coordinator at the Public Health Department will liaise with Education Department and the schools to schedule these screenings. Also, vaccination, we want to apologize to the public because our vaccination program has not been as normal, again, due to the situation that the country is having with the COVID-19, and most of our public health nurses are working in that department now. However, we have continued to do the 6 weeks postnatal clinic and vaccination, working together with the pediatrician at the HSA and also public health staff and some of the private clinics. We will gradually increase this service, and from Monday coming, please call 244-2562 to speak with a public health nurse for further updates. If you don't get an answer, please leave a message and then you will be contacted back. So that's all I have for now. If you have any questions from the media.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Williams Rodriguez. We go first to the Caymanian Times, Ralph Lewis.
Good afternoon, Dr. Williams, and thank you for that report. It's very good news indeed. I have two questions for you. The first one is, the working community is preparing to return to work in the next week or two. What healthcare advice would you give to those returning to regular duties who may become overwhelmed with clearing up all the backlog?
Well, the healthcare advice that we give to the public is the same one that we have been given during this time. Please make sure that they stay healthy, they drink a lot of fluid, they keep themselves mentally and physically fit. And also from a point of view of society, we need to continue with the social distancing and also the cough etiquette and all the hand hygiene and everything that has been advised and all along.
Okay. Would you recommend employers to sort of ensure that this is done as well?
It would be recommended for employers to make sure that this is done in the workplace, but I think the major responsibility is in the public itself, in the individual, to do what we all expected to be doing.
Okay. Thank you. My second question, are there any plans that you know of to sanitize the public areas, such as the streets or buildings where people may frequent on a regular basis?
We are looking to that action, or that approach, but right now there are no plans that I'm aware to sanitize the public places.
Thank you. That's it for me.
Thank you very much, Ralph. We now go to Kayla from the Cayman Compass.
Hey, Doctor. I wanted to clarify about the patients in hospital. There had been 2 COVID positive patients that I believe are being treated for unrelated conditions. Are those 2 individuals still being treated?
Those individuals are still hospitalized, but their medical condition has nothing to do with COVID-19, and that's why we call them as being treated for COVID-19.
Okay, thank you. Are you able to provide any kind of update to parents of school-age children about when we might see the vaccination and health checkup program get back on track?
It's all depends on how the country is doing. If the country continue to do this well, and we continue to release some of the restrictions, and of course that by the government to do that, we will get to the point that soon, as long as the country is available, we will start organizing this vaccination vaccine, and the public health department is ready and have already things in plan to do catch-up vaccinations on weekends and things like that in order to get everyone back to par.
Great. And for non-emergency medical cases that can't be treated over telemedicine, does HSA currently have the capacity or plans to start revisiting those patients?
Those patients still can contact the HSA, especially the general practice department, the one that have chronic condition, in order if they need to be assessed by telemedicine or if they need a prescription or any investigation to be done. That's currently happening now. I'm aware that quite a few of the private facilities are using telemedicine as well.
Okay, great. And my last question, which might the panel might have some more insight on, is about the field hospital that's being set up today. Can you give more detail on how that facility and the secondary facility at I believe at Jasmine will be integrated into the public health plan?
They are already integrated into the plan, and those facilities were to use in case that we were overwhelmed at the hospital. It's better to be prepared. With the trend that we currently have, we may not use it, but we didn't want to get to the situation that we need those facilities and they were not available. Those facilities are beautiful. A great job has been done with these facilities, and they're ready to be utilized if we get to that point, which seems to be unlikely at present.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kayla. Thank you, Dr. Williams Rodriguez. We go now to the Honorable Premier.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. These Fridays seem to come around very quickly these days. I want to say a few words before I make a couple of announcements about the way things are going in Cayman and generally around the world. Dr. Rodriguez Williams just spoke about the field hospital and how we all hope and expect that we won't need that, and many of the other facilities that we have and amenities that we have worked very hard to get and to put in place. And that is the reason we can have that hope and expectation is that the strategy so far has worked, frankly, incredibly well. When we look all around us and see the number of deaths, not just worldwide, but in particular in areas that are close to us, I've told the governor and some of my other colleagues over the past few weeks that I went through a few weeks of a recurrent dream where I dreamt that I was Andrew Cuomo, the governor of New York, announcing the latest death count at every one of his press conferences. We haven't had that there, and we haven't had that here, and we haven't had it here because, in large part, we have learned the lessons of other countries, and we have taken swift, decisive, and difficult decisions to ensure the health and welfare of our people. We are now at that point where, because of the success of the strategy, the pressures to simply give in and say, well, we've succeeded, let's just open back up the entire economy and let's get back to business as usual. Those pressures are continuing to ramp up, and all of us here are feeling them more and more every day. The more successes we have, the fewer positives that are reported, the more anxious and insistent people become to get their lives back to normal. Many people are losing and have lost much money, much income. Many businesses are crippled as a result of this. We are not insensitive to any of those things. We understand full well. And particularly in terms of development and construction, many people are very anxious to get back to business, and we are too. And then, of course, when people watch television and see what's happening in the United States, see what's happening in the United Kingdom, and more broadly in Europe, in terms of reopening, again, comparisons are made, and the pressures, more pressure is brought to bear on us. I just want to say this. It would be tragic to have made the sacrifices that we have made collectively as a country and as a people and throw it all away because we couldn't wait another week or two to get our particular business back up and running. I actually believe that President Trump's strategy, if I may call it that, will work. That they will be able to reopen the economy, and as a result of so many people having contracted the virus, there will be significant herd immunity built into the population in the United States. Really, the only issue is at what cost? A similar view could be taken of what's happening in Sweden and some other places. And I suppose it comes down to the ethos of the nation, of the people, of the governments involved. So far, we're now pushing, I think, 77,000 deaths in the United States. There's more than 30,000 in the United Kingdom. I don't remember what the number is in Sweden, but it's not insignificant. And it comes down to what price are you prepared to pay as a country and as a people to get business back to normal and to get people's lives back to normal. Our ethos here is that as far as it is humanly possible, we are not prepared to sacrifice any life just to get business back to normal. That has been the underlying philosophy of myself, the governor, and the government that I lead. And we are not about to change that view at this stage. So we are doing everything we can to ramp up the number of tests that we can actually have done in any given period so that we have a good grasp of the prevalence of the virus in the community, and we can take the necessary steps to trace, track down, isolate the individuals concerned, and if necessary, treat them. This requires patience and some more sacrifice on the part of everyone, because it means that it delays that much longer getting back to life as normal. But when the strategy succeeds, and I'm now using the word when instead of if, we will be able to operate in Cayman in a way that few countries are able to do or will be able to do for the foreseeable future. We can move about once we succeed with a high degree of confidence that the person next to you is not likely to pass to you, to transmit to you the virus. We've released Little Cayman. Cayman Brac is released with just a few safety conditions or precautions still in force. And I have no doubt that if we stay on track in Grand Cayman in another 4 to 6 weeks, we will probably be in that position as well. So again, I appeal to people, everyone, for your patience and your continued belief and confidence in what the government is doing to ensure the safety and welfare of everyone. I spoke earlier about the ethos of countries. Cayman has always been a place where we respect, we admire the elderly, not just for the contributions they've made, but because of their wisdom and the insight and the way they enrich our lives. That is certainly my personal ethos. Some of my colleagues say to me all the time when I'm telling them some story, and I'm fond of, those of you people who know me well, fond of telling stories, especially about Cayman and Caymanians, stories that sometimes go back 2 or 3 generations. And so my colleagues are fond of telling me sometimes that I must be older than I say I am, because there's no way I should know those stories. But I know those stories because of the time I spent around old people when I was growing up. And even now, I absolutely adore the time spent with old people. Elderly people enrich your lives in a way, if you let them, that younger people can't possibly do because they just don't have that experience. They can give you information, advice, guidance, insight that you only get having lived to be 70, 80, 90, 100 years. I've been very fortunate in that my great-grandmother was almost 102, my grandfather was 95, my father was 93, my mother 81, my great-aunt 102. My people live a long time. And that perhaps is why I and many Caymanians value elderly people and do not believe that it is simply good enough to say, well, they've had a good life. They're going to die anyhow. If COVID takes them, so what? I need to get my business back up and running. That is not our ethos. And for those who believe that it should be, I'm sorry, we just can't agree. And perhaps you need to consider whether this is the place that you ought to live and work and invest, because that is not our ethos. And in that vein, I want to do 2 shout-outs to 2 stalwarts of the Cayman community, both of whom have birthdays today. The first is, as I always call her, my old cousin, because she is my cousin, the Honorable Mary Lawrence, MBE, former Speaker of the House from 2009 to 2013, and very noted community worker and historian. She is 80 years old today. Happy birthday, Miss Mary, old cuz. And I also want to shout out to Mrs. Isley Connolly, MBE, who is the widow of national hero William Warren Connolly, and was herself Chief Education Officer from 1970 to 1982. Here, she's 97 years old today. And again, for reference for younger people, she is the mother of noted lawyers David Rich and Jackie Connolly, and architect Burns Connolly. So happy birthday, Miss Isley, happy 97th. I also want to say in advance, happy Mother's Day to all of the mothers. We know this is a very unusual Mother's Day, one where you, in many cases, will have to be the opposite of what you'd like, i.e. physically distant from your loved ones, your children and your other family. But we've done everything we possibly can to, I think, try to help with that, encourage everybody to use Zoom, encourage all children to make your orders, send your mother a nice meal if you're not living with her, and there are other delivery services available. We have lifted the curfew with respect to deliveries for Mother's Day. So as many of you as can, please take advantage of that. And finally, on a more somber note, I want to acknowledge that another public servant and former member of the Legislative Assembly, Mrs. Leola Estherline Ebanks, known to all of us as simply as Miss Esther, who died on the 23rd of April. Her body is currently lying in state at the Legislative Assembly, and although the public is not able, because of the curfew requirements, the shelter-in-place requirements to attend, some officials have visited the Legislative Assembly, and the proceedings can be followed live on CIG TV YouTube only. And her funeral services will be held tomorrow and will also be available on CIG TV from next week. Ms. Esther served one term in the Legislative Assembly from 1976 to 1980. She made a significant contribution, not just then, but over the course of her many years of public service, and we, the government of the Cayman Islands, mourn her loss and acknowledge her contribution and extend our condolences to her family. Her flags were flown at half-mast on the day of her death and the day following, and flags are at half-mast also today. And I would ask the panel, and indeed all of those within the sound of my voice today, to join me in a moment of silence in honor of Ms. Esther's contribution to these islands. The Lord giveth, and the Lord taketh. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Premier McLaughlin. Your Excellency.
Yes, thank you very much, and good afternoon, everybody. And let me first just add my own condolences as Governor to Miss Esther's family, and I know our thoughts and prayers are with everybody at this sad time. Also, my birthday wishes to Mary Lawrence, who I know very well. Very happy 80th birthday, Mary, and also Miss Connolly. So a very special day for you. And I first want to associate myself very closely and 100% agreement with everything the Premier has very articulately and coherently just said about our current strategy and where we are. And we are completely united as Governor, Premier and Government in that strategy. And as I've been Governor here for 18 months, and one of the things that has really struck me about Cayman is that respect and reverence for elderly people. And I personally have found that very inspiring and think it is really important. And I also do recognise we are asking an awful lot from everybody, and I do appreciate the contribution that everybody is making to our strategy. And I do appeal to you all to be patient for a bit longer. And we are at level 4 in our suppression strategy. We will be moving to level 3 if the test results continue to go as well as they are. And that means we will be able to ease up many of the restrictions. And I think that gives us hope and confidence as we go into to this weekend. On evacuation flights, the flight to Costa Rica and Honduras left today. So that's those are both departed. And I'm very pleased to confirm the Miami flight will take place on Friday, the 15th of May. You can book directly with Cayman Airways online or by phone 949-2311. For the return flight to Cayman, seats are limited and available to people on a pre-approved list only, and Cayman Airways will be in touch directly with those approved to return on this flight. As I said yesterday, the flight to Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic, has been organised for Sunday, the 17th of May, and you can now call Cayman Airways directly to book on this flight. And I've been asked to let you all know that the Cayman Airways reservation team will be available today until 6 p.m, tomorrow, Saturday, from 9 until 6, and Sunday, 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. And huge thanks again to Fabian Worms and everyone at Cayman Airways for all the help they're providing for these flights, which are helping a lot of people at a time of need. And I also just want to say a huge thank you to Maria Leng in my office, who has also been outstanding in making sure that these evacuation flights can happen. We were asked for some up-to-date figures. So as of today, with the 2 flights, a total of 921 people have departed our islands on evacuation flights, and 370 people have come in to the islands on those flights. Now, today marks the 75th anniversary of VE Day, when Britain and its allies accepted unconditional surrender by Nazi Germany, bringing to an end the Second World War in Europe. So it's a day of huge importance and should be a day of celebration, although people can't get together and gather as we would normally do so. I want to give a shout out to our veterans today and thank them for the sacrifices that they have made. And I'm very aware of the contribution of Cayman to the fight against Germany in the Second World War. 75 years ago today, Winston Churchill announced in a speech that in all our long history, we have never seen a greater day than this. Everyone, man or woman, has done their best. Everyone has tried. I hope that when we come out of the other side of this pandemic, we can all say the same thing, that everyone has tried their best to suppress the spread of this virus in our community. And as Her Majesty the Queen said in her recent speech, we should take comfort that while we may have more still to endure, better days will return. We will be with our friends again. We will be with our families again. We will meet again. I just want to do a couple of other very quick shout-outs. First of all, the Alliance to End Domestic Violence is offering a free online webinar on Monday, the 11th of May at 4 p.m. called Domestic Violence and COVID-19, How You Can Support People Who Are Experiencing Domestic Violence in the Cayman Islands. Now, this alliance is an organisation comprised of government entities and the Cayman Islands Crisis Centre, with a mission to empower people to live lives free from domestic violence through multi-agency coordination, advocacy, and public education. And this webinar will provide guidance on how community members can support people in their lives who may be experiencing domestic violence. To register for the webinar, please visit the Alliance to End Domestic Violence page on Facebook. Today is also Red Cross Day, which is celebrated around the world each year on 8th of May. And here in the Cayman Islands, the Red Cross continues to do great work behind the scenes. The organisation has coordinated efforts in the production of masks for frontline workers, as well as working diligently behind the scenes to support our COVID-19 response and hurricane preparedness efforts in a wide number of ways. So on this Red Cross Day, I would like to acknowledge the efforts not only of the Cayman Islands Red Cross volunteers, but all of those who have become a part of the Red Cross-managed National COVID-19 Volunteer Response, who can continue to provide an invaluable service to our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Minister of Health.
I thank you very much, Donna. Good afternoon to everyone in Grand Cayman, Cayman Brac and Little Cayman, and all our Caymanian diaspora listening in. Indeed, it is Mother's Day weekend, and I thought mothers are so important that we needed to, as the other panelists has done, in honoring mothers. Mother's Day is a holiday honoring motherhood that is observed in different forms throughout the world. The American of incarnation of Mother's Day was created by Anna Jarvis in 1908 and became an official U.S. holiday in 1914. Mother's Day traditionally involves presenting mom with flowers, cards, and other gifts. The celebration of mothers and motherhood can be traced back to the ancient Greeks and Romans, who held festivals in honor of the mother goddesses Rhea and Cybele. But the clearest modern precedent for Mother's Day is the early Christian festival known as Mothering Sunday, once a major tradition in the UK and parts of Europe. But this celebration fell on the fourth Sunday in Lent and was originally seen as a time when the faithful would return to the Mother Church, the main church in the vicinity of their home, for a special service. This custom eventually faded in popularity before merging with the American holiday in the 1930s and 40s. Did you know that more phone calls are made on Mother's Day than any other day of the year? Phone traffic is normally spiked as much as 37%. Anna Jarvis established the Mother's Day International Association to help promote her cause, and her persistence paid off in 1914 when American President Woodrow Wilson signed a measure officially establishing the second Sunday in May as Mother's Day. Anna Jarvis had originally conceived the Mother's Day as a day of personal celebration between mothers and families. Her version of the day involved wearing a white carnation as a badge and visiting one's mother or attending church services. But it was not long before the same people she lobbied to help raise the profile of Mother's Day capitalized on its popularity, and in 1920, Jarvis became disgusted with how the holiday had been commercialized. While versions of Mother's Day are celebrated, worldwide traditions vary. In Thailand, for example, Mother's Day is always celebrated in August, on the birthday of the current Queen Sirikit. In Ethiopia, families gather in the fall to sing songs and eat festival, a multi-day celebration honoring motherhood. At times, Mother's Day has always been a date for launching political or feminist causes. And in 1968, Coretta Scott King, wife of Martin Luther King Jr., used Mother's Day to host a march in support of underprivileged women and children. In the 1970s, women's groups also used the holiday as a time to highlight the need for equal rights and access to child care. Today's scripture comes from Proverbs 11:16, and Proverbs 31, and John 19. Proverbs 11:16, a gracious woman gets honor. Proverbs 31:27 through 31. She watches over the affairs of her household and does not eat bread of the idleness. Her children rise up and call her blessed, her husband also, and he praises her. Many women do noble things, but you surpass them all. Charm is deception, and beauty is fleeting. But a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Honor her for all that her hands have done, and let her work bring praise at the city. In John 19:26-27, when Jesus therefore saw his mother and the disciples standing by, whom he loved, he said unto his mother, Woman, behold my son. Then he said to the disciple, Behold thy mother. And from that hour, the disciple took her unto his home. Today, shout-outs, mothers in the Cayman Islands, happy Mother's Day to you all, and all Caymanians worldwide listening in. A special wishes to the Bordentown District, and in particular, Bordentown East. My daughter was actually born on Mother's Day, and she'll have a birthday this Sunday. She'll be 5 years old. Happy birthday, Naya. Also, happy birthday to Joshua Clark, who'll be 13 years old. Miss Hyacinth Rose, happy birthday to you. Mr. Ken Jefferson, FS, happy birthday to you. And also, former speaker, as mentioned earlier, Honorable Mayor Lawrence, happy birthday to you. In honor of Mother's Day, a special treat in Mother's Day languages. It's basically just saying Happy Mother's Day. And in Tagalog, Maligayang Arona Mahina. In Spanish is Feliz Dia de la Madre. In Jamaican, Guan Mama, a your day, bless up. In French, it's Bonne Fête de Mère. And Mandarin, it's Mochin Ji Kwaila. I thank you. Announcements of virtual, there will be some virtual carnivals this weekend and concerts. There'll be a Mother's Day concert to Mother with Love virtual concert this Sunday, the 10th of May at 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. brought to you by the Seventh-day Adventist Conference and the Lions Club of Grand Cayman. Streaming live on Mother's Day concert, Lions Club of Grand Cayman and Miss Teen Cayman and CIG TV. Guest performances from international gospel artists, Miss Glacia Robinson, also the best of Cayman talents. I can tell you that I've heard Miss Glacia Robinson sing, and she is amazing. So I would tell you to tune into that on Sunday the 10th at 6 p.m. Maybe you, where you're living and your mother is living, you could communicate and watch it together virtually. There's also KMAS has a KMAS SD Carnival online on May the 16th, 12 p.m. to 6. Lots of solid international performers and DJs. Register on their website and join by Zoom or Facebook. 18 or over, please. Also, Badamanu has the 2020, Badamanu 2020, Cayman Carnival Badamanu virtual road experience, age 18 years old and over. International artists and DJs, local and international, starting at 1 p.m. live on Facebook and Zoom. Wearing costume at home is optional. This is tomorrow, May 9th. Also, Cayman Carnival, the Renegade Mass, virtual mass experience tomorrow, Saturday, May 9th, 6 p.m. to 12. Must be 18 to get a free wristband. Carnival wear is optional. All bands invited. Play mass at home. Tons of international and local DJs from New York, St. Lucia, and Trinidad. Zoom in. I thank you. God bless.
Thank you very much.
Hi, Donna. If I can just mention two more birthday shout-outs because the messages came in. I just want to join in wishing Miss Hyacinth Rose happy birthday as well. She is Pastor Winston Rose's wife, and just as importantly, mother of our Cabinet Secretary Samuel Rose. Happy birthday, Miss Hyacinth. And to my dear friend, for many, 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 many years, Mrs. Miriam Powery.
Yes.
Anglin, sorry, who is 89.
Wow. Okay.
Yes.
Happy birthday to everyone. So we're going to go quickly now to members of the media, beginning with April from Radio Cayman. April?
Good afternoon, everyone. I think the premier is probably the one this question is aimed at, for lack of a better phrase. I've been getting a lot of email from people, parents who are very concerned about the fact that as we start to reopen and they're expected to go back to work, they no longer have childcare options, they don't have access to helpers, and the kids aren't old enough to leave at home. And they're really concerned about some of the pressure their employers are putting on them. They want to work, but they just don't have the capacity to take care of their children at the same time. Is there any advice you can give them, or perhaps even a shout out to their employers to be a little flexible during this time of transition?
I get all easy questions, don't I?
Sorry about that. You're the boss.
But again, the appeal is for patience. So as I say, we are now working with a timeline of this, from where I sit, 4 to 6 weeks before things start to get back to some real semblance of normalcy. So what we've opened first are areas where we think the risk is least. That is delivery of goods and products and services. Assuming all of this goes as well as we'd like, in another week, 10 days, we hope to be able to open up other areas of industry, business, where people are actually able to go into facilities, go into shops. We're waiting 14 days between each of these to see, and praying that it doesn't happen, see whether the virus pops up in areas so that we can shut it down as quickly as possible. So what I'll say to employers, if you can avoid having people physically come into your business and work from home, let them work from home. The thing with domestic helpers and nannies and caregivers is that because of the nature of the work they do, it's impossible for them not to be in physical contact with the people they care for. And if they are living somewhere else other than in the household, there is that risk that they can contract the virus where they live and bring it into the house where they work. That's why we have been so careful and cautious about that. But as we become, I hope, increasingly more confident about the lack of prevalence of the virus in the community, we will be able to ease those restrictions so that people can get back their nannies and caregivers and so forth. Again, there is no magic fix that the government has for this. We understand the challenges that parents face. Even if you're not parents, when you get used to having someone around looking after you and they're not there, it is a huge miss. So we understand that, but I can't do more than say that, and again to appeal to everyone to let's just hang on a little bit longer.
Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, now we go to Kayla from the Compass. Kayla, please go ahead.
Hi, I wanted to see if we could get some more information about the field hospitals that are being set up and the capabilities, the purpose of those facilities.
Field hospitals.
I never heard this. Can you repeat that again?
Can you
please?
repeat? Yeah.
Sorry, I wanted to get more information about the field hospitals that are being set up, what their capabilities are, and what their primary purpose will be in terms of the types of patients that they will be receiving, if needed.
Thank you. We'll get Dr. Williams to chime in on this.
All right, thanks for the question. There are two facilities that have been identified, have been worked on to be used as an extension from the hospital in the case that is needed. Basically, one of them is to manage patients who are positive for COVID-19 and need management at a hospital type of care. Some of them, or the great majority, have mild symptoms and can be managed at home. But some of them will need a hospitalization. The other facility is basically to move some of the patients from the HSA in order to create more room at the HSA to manage these COVID patients again. That have been all proactive measures in case that there is a large outbreak of COVID patient in the Cayman Island.
And my understanding is that the second facility would be for non-COVID cases?
That's correct. The second facility is for non-COVID patients that need admission, and some of them will be transferred from Georgetown Hospital to that facility.
Great. And the COVID facility, my understanding is that that would be for mild rather than severe COVID hospitalization needs.
The most severe patient will be attended at Georgetown Hospital still, and also Health City Cayman Island if needed. Those patients will need medical attention at hospital level, but not to the level of ventilation and that type of level. If we get to the point, the facility is also capable to manage this type of patient if we will get to that point where we have to, all the hospitals at Georgetown Hospital and Health City, intensive care beds are occupied.
Great. Thank you for those details, Doctor. I also wanted to ask, follow up on a point the Premier made earlier that, we don't want to open up the economy too rapidly and in a few weeks regret that. And of course, in a few weeks is the beginning of hurricane season. And I imagine that we would like to be as prepared as possible, have COVID as well managed as possible before we get there. Can you talk about how we plan to simultaneously juggle those two?
I didn't get your last word.
Sorry. How do we plan to juggle the challenge of having COVID-19 coincide with the needs of hurricane season?
Well, I'll have Danny Coleman, who is the Director of Hazard Management, give you the detail. But just so you and everybody else appreciate that all of these considerations are weighing heavily on us as we are working assiduously to try to stamp out, to eliminate the COVID virus in this community. Can you imagine the challenges of trying to run shelters with physical distancing requirements if you have the virus running rampant through this community? Those are the sort of things that give us nightmares, and are all part of as I say, of the considerations we have when we are trying, constantly adjusting the strategy and trying to ramp up things like testing and measures to eliminate the virus.
Great, thank you for that. And yes, I actually did speak with Danielle Coleman earlier today. And I also wanted to touch on an issue that...
Danielle's actually here, so you can...
Thank you. Others might appreciate what she has to say as well.
Just for the benefit of the wider audience.
I wasn't sure if she was there or not.
Thank you, Kayla. Just for the benefit of the wider audience, I know the Compass will be covering this next week in a podcast or on an editorial or so forth. But there are a lot of considerations that we're looking at right now from hazard management, but also from the wider NEOC. This covers things like the shelter capacity, also identifying shelters that would be for example, more vulnerable, such as elderly and immunosuppressed persons. Our hurricane exercise on the 20th and 21st of May will focus very much on scenarios in the NEOC, what that might look like. But we're also thinking things like, obviously, our UK SAT team right now are helping us with logistics, with supplies coming in. We appreciate, obviously, supply chains have been affected by COVID, and we've worked very well around that so far. But of course, if we have the added additional issue with hurricane supply chains being affected, we really need to look at alternative plans and contingency plans and perhaps different locations for getting supplies in. A lot of our presentations moving forward with both, I guess, public buildings, public partners as well as private partners will focus on the different issues that those individuals have to think about. Things like evacuation flights, what does that look like? But also, I mean, from a community perspective, obviously the financial aspects of the impact of COVID has had a significant impact on a lot of people's purses. So how do we prepare for the hurricane season ahead with perhaps less money in our pockets? So those are the kind of considerations, but I know we'll be doing a lot more work moving forward in the next couple of weeks on what that looks like. And if anyone has any questions, please reach out to Hazard Management. But also we have a lot of information on our website, which is www.caymanprepared.ky, as to what you need to know for hurricane, preparing a plan, making sure you have some supplies, what will you do if you go to public shelters and so forth. And again, we'll do our best at Hazard Management to make sure we're ready, the Cayman Islands are ready for any eventuality this year. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. I just have one last question before I hand over the screen. I know that a lot of people on island are wondering about fuel prices and how the drop in fuel prices might affect electricity prices on island, if at a certain point the public might feel the benefit of that.
Well, yes. I mean, yesterday I know there was quite a firestorm about it, as people, including myself, got their electricity bill and saw that it was significantly higher than it had been in previous months. And of course, people factor in a number of news items, including the fact that the bottom has fallen out of the oil market over the course of the last month or so in particular, and that prices are at absolute rock bottom. But the reason why you would see an increase in your bill is probably twofold. One, much greater usage, because there are likely to be more people in your house for longer periods now than would normally be the case. A lot of people are working from home, the children are home, and of course the weather is getting warmer. But in terms of why there is no reduction in the fuel cost, because I think most people will know as they read their bills that the fuel charge or surcharge is what's called a flow-through, and is a separate item on the bill, because CUC charges the customer precisely what they pay for fuel. They get no markup. They're not allowed to mark up on the cost of the fuel. But although oil prices have fallen significantly in recent weeks, CUC purchases fuel 2 months in advance. So they paid the price for fuel that obtained 2 months ago, and they are still passing that cost through to customers. But based on the information I've had, by the June and July bills, people should see a significant reduction in the fuel surcharge. But I caution, that doesn't mean you'll see a reduction in your bill, because if usage increases, the bill probably will not reduce. And of course, it's getting warmer, and as things get warmer, there's greater demand on air conditioning in particular, and that usually pushes the price, the cost of your fuel, of your CUC bill up during the summer months. But I've had I won't call her name because I haven't asked her permission, but I have a very bright lady in my constituency who, on our constituency chat, did a breakdown of the cost per kilowatt hour for the benefit of the people on the Prospect and Red Bay Community Group chat. And the costs are exactly the same per kilowatt hour now as they were last month, which, if I'm correct, it's 24 cents per kilowatt hour. It's just that usage has gone up significantly for almost everyone, myself included.
Okay, Kayla, does that answer your question? And do you have other
Yeah,
questions?
it does. Thank you for that.
Okay, do you have further questions, or that's it?
That's all for me.
Okay, thank you very much. We're going to now go to CNS with Nikki Watson. Nikki?
Thank you, Donna. I have a couple of questions for the Premier, possibly the Governor. The strategies that the Cayman Islands has taken for COVID, are they very similar to other islands around the Caribbean, particularly the British Overseas Territories?
I think I can say with confidence, yes. We've had a number of these, but I had a conference call with Barna Sugg, the UK Overseas Territories Minister, yesterday, along with the other overseas territories leaders. And yes, I think I can reaffirm that their position with respect to the value of human life and putting that above economic considerations is part of their approach to this as well.
Okay, and when it comes to results, are there any results around the Caribbean that you're particularly worried about? Are there any outliers?
Around the Caribbean generally, or the overseas territories in particular?
Well, either.
Well, I think generally the Caribbean has done quite well. I don't have all of the statistics at my fingertips. I haven't reviewed them in a couple of days, but I think St. Martin has a number of deaths. I think 13 or 14, a population of 100,000. It's two nations, two separate nations, but it's about 100,000 people on the island. I can't remember what the number is in Trinidad or Jamaica, but I know the overseas territories, the only one that has had I can't even say it's a significant number, but it's significant in relation to the size of the population. Bermuda's population is, I think, just a little less than Cayman's. I think they've had 6 or 7 deaths, mostly because the virus got into their rest homes. Once it gets in there, right across the world, you see what happens. But the overseas territories, I think, are performing very, very well. Some are having challenges, not necessarily COVID-19 related, but coinciding with COVID-19. I won't go into those details, but I think they're all managing quite well. Of course, everybody is worrying about the economic consequences of this and how we all keep our countries running with no tourists for the next 9 months or 6 months, however long it takes.
So one last question. When you talk to other leaders of Caribbean countries, are they getting as much grief as you are for the strategies?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I can fairly answer that. I didn't hear them complaining too much on the chat, on the conference call yesterday about that. But I know Bermuda. In Bermuda, they get as much grief. The Premier there gets as much grief as I get here. But I can't honestly speak for the other territories because I haven't heard them complain.
Okay, I won't give you any more today then.
That's all right.
Nikki, thank you very much for that. With that, we're going to begin to wrap up today's press briefing with any final remarks as we go into Mother's Day weekend. We can start with the Minister of Health.
Yeah, just wanted to mention happy birthday to Eleanor Solomon and Jacob Hugh and Derek Scott. And also wanted to thank Cruz Borden for giving out free masks to the frontline workers. Thank you very much, Cruz Borden, for that Cayman kind gesture. Also want to shout out the Cayman Airways reservation staff for all they're doing in getting our Caymanians home to us on those special flights. And also, last but not least, I want to say Happy Mother's Day to my mother and my wife, just in case I get in trouble for that. But that's it.
Okay, Your Excellency.
Well, just to say happy Mother's Day to everybody. I don't think I did cover that in my speech, but a shout out again to Lynn. We all watch her closely. She has to work. Carolyn. She has to work incredibly hard, and the joy on her face when she's obviously enjoying saying something. And when we talk about Mother's Day, I've been seeing the joy on her face. But that's been lovely to watch.
Love Miss Carolyn.
Yeah, I too would like to finish it again by saying Happy Mother's Day to all of the mothers out there. And to say happy birthday to young Jacob Hugh, who is one of the sons of Minister Joey Hugh. happy birthday, Jacob, on Mother's Day.
Thank you for that. All right, but quite a bit of information to give you before we actually say goodbye. A reminder from Commissioner of Police, Mr. Derek Byrne, that the following curfew restrictions, of course, remain in place until 5 a.m. on the 15th of May. So please listen carefully, just in case you're not sure. The soft curfew or shelter-in-place regulations on Grand Cayman remains in place between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m. Monday to Saturday. The hard curfew or the full lockdown is for everyone except essential services personnel. That remains in operation here on Grand Cayman and Cayman Brac between the hours of 8 p.m. and 5 a.m. nightly Monday to Sunday. Also, you can exercise up to 90 minutes, folks, between the hours of 5:15 a.m. and 7 p.m. daily, Monday to Saturday. No exercise is permitted on Sunday during the period of curfew. This relates to Grand Cayman only, as these restrictions have been removed from the sister islands. Now, a full 24-hour hard curfew as it relates to our beaches. Access to the beaches, the public beaches, that is, on Grand Cayman remains in place through to Friday, the 15th of May, 2020 at 5 a.m. This means that no access to public beaches on Grand Cayman at any time until that date is allowed. This stops any person from entering on, walking, swimming, snorkeling, fishing, or engaging in any type of marine activity on any public beach here on Grand Cayman. The Commissioner is reminding the public that breach of the curfews carries a penalty of $3,000 and imprisonment for 1 year or both. Also, this Sunday, as mentioned throughout the conference today, is Mother's Day, and a reminder again about the concert, Mother's Day concert that's being put together by the Lions Club of Grand Cayman and the Seventh-day Adventist concert. It's a Mother's Day concert featuring local talent, as mentioned earlier by the Minister of Health, and international gospel artist Glacio Robinson, right here on CIG-TV from 6 p.m. this coming Sunday, May the 10th. We invite you to watch. Also, you can watch on the Facebook page of either the Lions Club of Tropical Gardens or the Cayman Mother's Day Concert Facebook page. A reminder, again, to go online to gov.ky/coronavirus if you have any questions that you're not sure what the answer is. Also, eservices.gov.ky. Please remember you can go there as well to take care of all of your renewals and other business online. We thank you to the public, you the listening and viewing public, as well as to the panel for joining us for the press conference this week and this Friday. Coming up for those watching, a look at today's regional and world coronavirus statistics, and happy Mother's Day to all of you.